second chance in the game.
I'm Jack Rustman, O-line coach, strength conditioning coordinator at Concordia University of Chicago. Today we're going to talk to you guys about creating a more durable football player. Really, we're just going to go over the basis of our off-season training program and almost our year-round training program. We won't get too much into in-season just because we don't have enough time at this point. Just give you a little background about myself. I played football 4 years at Northern Michigan University where I earned my bachelor's in PE and health nutrition management. I got my master's from Concordia St. Paul in exercise science, and then I'm a USA Level 2 senior coach, underground strength coach, Level 2. I've had my CSCS. I let it run laps. Don't tell anybody. I just never used it for what I was doing. So hopefully I'll give you guys some good information about off-season training programs and what we're doing. So. First thing first, right? We want to create a durable football player. So our biggest thing is just training correctly. So I'm going to go through a few different slides, really talk about our base, what we're training, why we're training, go through some of those training programs, and then talk about warm-up and recovery and things it takes in the weight room as a strength coach. All right. So first thing we're going to talk about is energy systems. So there's 3 energy systems that we're going to use, right? Oxidative, glycolytic, and ATP or alactic. All right. The big one of the ones that really isn't ever trained that much, and it's not a big training part for football, is the oxidative state. So that's more aerobic capacity, right? So that's with oxygen. That's what aerobic means. Little to no power output here. So 5% of our football is played at this level. So this is more towards end of the game, and it's a long game. That's the system that's just going to keep energy moving throughout our body, not really moving our muscles. Use this really only at the start of your training program. So if you got a kid who's so out of shape, we want to start building that foundation in this energy system. So it's longer workout, lower intensity, but longer duration. We only train this system in a 52-week period. We'll only train 3 to 4 weeks in that 52-week period. So we use this really to sprinkle it in during the season or off-season, in-season, just to break up the monotony of training because it can get a little old sometimes. So the next one we're going to talk about is our glycolytic system. So that's the glucose system, right? Moderate power output, short work durations. This is where we're going to start working into the systems we're going to use to play football, right? So think of a V6 engine. So it's not the most powerful engine, but it still gives a little rev. This work capacity is no longer than 30 seconds, right? Anything higher than that, you're not in that system anymore. And this is like between 60 and 70% of your max effort, whatever you can do, roughly. We don't really want to be in this energy system as an athlete. If we are, that means we're not going 100%. And that's where we kind of get into a little bit of mindless running and things like that. We'll talk about a little bit in what we're doing. We need to build this training system up, though, so we become in better shape, right? Again, building on that foundation. One of the myths we like to talk about, if you're in this training state for long periods of time, you will get stronger. That's not true, okay? If we train at this system, okay, 50%, 60%, 70%, we're not going to build that absolute strength that we want to really develop that ATP and energy, all right? But this system also has to be trained during your training blocks, all right? The biggest one for us as football players or football coaches that we want these kids to do is that 100% effort, right? That V8 engine, really kick it into high gear. This is max power output, short work durations, right? Normal person, so somebody who doesn't really train that much can only hold this for 4 seconds, all right? An elite athlete, and I'm talking about Olympic sprinters and those type, can hold this from 10 to 12 seconds. We want to be in that 6 to 12 second range. You'll have some kids that can do 12 seconds straight, but those are some dudes, all right? Typically, they're going to start at 4 seconds, and our goal is to get them to that 6, 8, 10 second range, all right? This is where you really would make your jump as a team from being good to great. Now that we understand those energy systems, we kind of understand the programs we want to create, okay? We're going to talk a little bit later about Olympic lifts because that's really my passion and niche, and that's kind of what I believe in. and we'll talk about power output in each one, but this is a little diagram for you to look at just what lifts really get you that rate of force development, which you're going to hear a lot of coaches talk about, your ability to develop force in anything that you're doing, okay? So I use 3 different kind of systems throughout the year, all right? A concurrent system, a conjugate system, and a Western block, and those are all my periodizations, okay? And those are pretty simple to follow and to understand. You don't need to be a scientist or anything to understand. There's a lot of good resources out there you can learn from that, all right? So our first block of periodization is this concurrent method. So I follow Joe Ken in this model quite a bit. Zach Evanesh, Travis Mash uses this a little bit. It's a 3-day-a-week workout. So right now we're doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That's the typical day. You'll do a full body each day with an emphasis. All right, so you're working power, strength, and hypertrophy all in one day instead of doing a traditional Western block, which we'll talk about a little bit. All right, where you're working blocks of each one. So our cycle includes power, strength, hypertrophy. So in our breakdown right now of our concurrent method, we'll do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Mondays is a total body or explosive emphasis, okay? Wednesday is upper body emphasis, Thursday is a lower body emphasis. That's just for the core work, okay? After that, we'll go through each cycle, and you can dig a little deeper into what Joe Ken and the tier system is all about to follow along with that. But that's what I find our traditional off season. We get a lot more work in because we'll do 3 days a week of lifting with power stuff in there, 2-day a week of speed, agility, mechanics. All right. So when you're following this concurrent method, you always want to start with power first. Okay. So any type of power movement, which is like jumps, cleans, or Olympic lifts, squats with bands, squats with chains, stuff like that. You want to start with that first. Then your strength work. Okay. So whatever the strength work would be for that emphasis. Okay. If you don't have a power emphasis for that day, then you would just bump up your strength, and then it's hypertrophy after that, okay? You can use your power stuff, but just understand that that explosive strength you're looking for, or that strength speed, really isn't gonna be there after you do your strength work, so it's more speed strength at that point. So Louis Simmons style, 8 sets of 2 or 10 sets of 2 at a low percentage for some speed, right? Again, it's 3 days a week for this. Another one we're going to follow is the conjugate method, okay? So this comes from Louis Simmons, West Side Barbell. Big influence on pretty much every strength coach out there, right? And we use this method in our concurrent method as well, but it's broken down in a microcycle a little bit. So when we talk about the conjugate method, okay, this is training, split day training, so it's 4 days a week. You have different efforts, right? So there's dynamic effort, max effort, and repetition effort. All right. The dynamic effort is your jumping or power stuff, and that's what you're specifically working on that day. Your max stuff is like your max bench, working your absolute strength. All right. And so your core lifts for the max days would be squat, bench, and dead. It's pretty much traditional powerlifting. Your repetition stuff is again maybe a variation of the powerlifting movements, the core lifts, added with more higher reps. Okay. So then that would be more of a hypertrophy stage as well. So this one would be like Monday, okay, let's say it's max upper. Tuesday would be repetition or dynamic lower, okay? So it'd be dynamic lower or max effort lower, max effort upper, or repetition effort upper, okay? So Monday would be lower, Tuesday upper, Thursday lower, Friday upper. So split training like that, try to take that middle week off. So you want 2 days in a row. And Louis Simmons, all the science kind of says you want to try to take 72 hours off from a max day to the next time you lift that body part. Western block periodization, this is what the US kind of used for a very long time. Okay, where conjugate method is more Russian based, Western is more American based, right? So you're working hypertrophy for a month, you're working strength for a month, you're working power for a month. I don't tend to do that much, just because I feel like you tend to lose that hypertrophy when you get to that power phase. It's just kind of how I feel. We will sprinkle this in like during our student development time on their own. So when they're working out on their own, we'll give them kind of beach body days. So this is like maybe the week after the season is done. We'll give them a hypertrophy phase just to kind of break the monotony of the season and getting back into lifting. And let's be honest, these guys love to lift the glamour muscles, right? The biceps and the triceps. So we'll kind of break that up a little bit into that. So the biggest thing that I do, and this is what's helped me as a coach the most, and again, this comes straight from Joe Ken. I'm not going to be the first one to tell you I invented anything, because I didn't. And this is just years of me learning from coaches and kind of soaking everything in, taking clinics, going and getting certifications, watching YouTube videos, and obviously getting my exercise science degree helped me understand the science of it. But the biggest thing is laying out your year, right? So this is our year for this year. I made this back a while ago. And this comes straight from Joe Ken, right, at Big House Power. So I'm not going to lie, I didn't make this myself. I just kind of fit it how it fits our program, right, and where I want our intensities to be. So some things you're going to notice on here, right, is it gives you a base understanding of what weeks you're in and what intensities you're going to be in. If you can follow the color coding, it's a little hard to see. But if you need this, you can just email me. I'll have my email at the end, and I'll give whatever you need. But the biggest thing for a coach, because my time is very limited, right? I've got, we got 65 kids in our off-season program right now that I got to write individual programs for based off their numbers, right? So I got to figure out the intensities and how that fits into their individual lifts. So I need this all laid out. I can't just do this on the fly, all right? So I lay out the entire year, and this maps us. Now I have this, and I've done this for the past 5, 6, 7 years, where I can look back and go, oh, this intensity during this year, or this season, was a little too high, or a little off, something like that. We'll raise it, okay? And I don't get like majorly over scientific with the intensities. This is just an overall average intensity that we want our kids at this week for our lifts. So when I program that, that goes into the whole process. So that's the programming part. And any programming that we have, time-wise, we don't have enough time to kind of break down every single thing. But if you want a kind of a template, I'm free. Obviously, I made it fit our program, but the template's there for you if you want it. Feel free to ask, and I will give it to you. All right. So the biggest things that is newer to strength and conditioning is more dynamic warm-ups, taking the time to recover, and some work ethic stuff we're going to talk about, because that's one of the biggest strength and conditioning issues, right? Lifting in general, it's a grind, right? You play football for 4 months. The rest of that time is off-season technically, okay, or developmental time, where you, as a coach, need to get your kids to buy in and to work out. So as a strength and conditioning coach, you see your kids year-round in some fashion. So you have to teach them how to learn or to love the grind, right? And as a strength coach, you need to love the grind. So we talk about warm-ups here, right? We use strictly dynamic warm-ups. We'll use the static stretch for cool down, not even cool down, but for like deload weeks, right? So the biggest thing I like to kind of mess my kids around with is like, does a tiger have time to stretch before it sprints for a kill? All right. The real answer is no, but as that tiger's creeping up, it's warming up itself, right? So the warm-up needs to be done the right way. Warm-up is a huge part of getting kids bought into what you are doing for the day, right? So obviously each warm-up's going to have an emphasis for what you're doing. Upper body warm-up, upper body stuff, all right? Or upper body workout. Lower body workout, lower body warm-up. For us, we do three full body warm-ups. The first part of it's all the same. And I have a different thing. We can go over this later again. If you need this info, need help on that, I can help. But keeping the kids moving at all times, okay? That's the biggest part. We want to build the temperature up to get their bodies warm and ready to go, all right? We add a dynamic stretch in there as we go to warm the body up and get them moving. But we don't ever stand in one spot, because that's when we're lifting in our weight room, we are never standing in one spot. Just like we practice, we never stand in one spot. Just like we play, we never stand in one spot. So we preach that all the time. So we start a little slower, but we're still moving. and we slowly progress into different paces, right? So we're gonna go slow dynamic stretching into medium pace exercises, which are low motor unit call, all right? So that means they don't have to think that much, and then finish with more fast, advanced compound movements, all right? So it's a build-up. This is also a great time as a strength coach where you can build the hype up in the weight room, right? So that's really like 90% of it, is getting the kids to buy in. And you do that by chatting with them in the warm-up, playing crazy music. Like for example, this morning we were playing Sandstorm. Some of these kids were born in 2000, and the song was made in 99. So they didn't even know what the song is. So they just kind of get a hoot out of that, and it's fun for me to kind of talk trash to them. Recovery in that process, right? So we deload every third week. And depending on our cycle, so right now we came back from Christmas break, we had 7 weeks. So our deload's a little thrown off. So now our first training block is 4 weeks. Our third week we're deloading. And then we got a 3-week hard block, and then a spring break. So we're deloading spring break. So it's a little different. During our deloads, right, we are recovering super hard, intensity is low. We're gonna go through mobility work. We're gonna go through SMR stuff, and get those kids, right. The recovery part, you have to talk to these kids about, all right? They are much better, I think. When I first started this 10 years ago, recovery wasn't even a thing, really. Foam rolling wasn't even a thing. Lacrosse balls weren't a thing. Warming up the right way really wasn't even a thing. It was just starting to become new. But the recovery stuff, we work through that mobility, right? So mobility is our joints range of motion. It's not muscle length or anything like that. It's our ability to move through a range of motion. You'll see a lot of kids are hindered by scar tissue that they've had because they've broken down or had an injury. So we do a lot of foam rolling or lacrosse ball stuff, all right? Just rolling out. You can actually, Kelly Starrett or Mobility WOD are great resources for coaches to kind of find out that mobility stuff, okay? And again, if you ask me, I will be glad to help you in any way I can. And also, as a strength coach, know the difference between mental and physical fatigue. This is why you got to deload, right? So in our morning workouts, we start at 6 a.m. and we start hot. It's hard for a human being to do that for 4 years straight. Let's say they're a college football player, 4 years straight, being able to keep that hype up, right? Love the grind. Everybody loves the grind, but waking up at 5:30 is not enjoyable when you're 18, 19, 20, 21 years old. So you guys got to give these kids mental breaks, right? That's either in the form of workouts being a little easier, okay? Changing up the workout mentality. So bang, they come in Monday morning next week for our deload. We are probably going to start with mobility stuff, all right? Stuff that they've never even seen before we got here. All right, and just remember that more doesn't always equal better. All right, sometimes rest is just the best medicine you can give them mentally. Now, physical fatigue is a little different. As a coach, you got to understand that if you break them down, beat them down in the ground, you got to understand as a coach. All right, this is where the 52-week training block starts. The whole year laid out. This helps you understand these kids probably should be tired at this point. So I got to look out as a coach and understand where that fits in, okay? And learn to be efficient. We're in the weight room for an hour, and that's it, okay? We're high tempo. We get work done. We were doing board press this morning. Kids were hitting 365 for 3 rep max, okay? In and out. So they build up 8 sets in probably like a 15-minute period, 20-minute period. They got groups of 3. And just teach them how to be efficient, right? They're taking their 2-minute rest in between, but they're getting their work in. They're they're changing their weights. They're hopping in on that bench like that, all right? All right, the next thing we're gonna talk about is work ethic, okay? This is what separates, I think, strength coaches in the industry. There's a lot of the strength coaches now are gonna be either super hype or just super down. As a high school coach, and that's what I was for most of my career, right? Is you have to be different. These kids got to buy into you. Again, you're seeing them for a majority of the year. 4 months, maybe if you're lucky playing football. The rest of the time they should be in that weight room or off-season program in some way. So you got your entire off-season. It doesn't matter if you can get a kid to squat 600 pounds as a freshman. the program's going to fail if you can't get them to buy in and motivated to what you're doing. All right. The kids, just like us, are going to follow people who are energetic, motivated, crazy. That's why you see Alex Banos from Northwestern wearing cutoffs, collared cutoffs. Man, he's crazy, but people follow him, okay? And they're motivated to be with him. These kids need somebody to look up to, okay? And that's why I hold myself to a high standard. Right now, the last 2 training cycles for myself, I'm a competitive Olympic weightlifter. I took 4th in nationals in 2018 and 4th in nationals in 2016. So I hold myself to a higher standard. I snatch 150 kilos, clean and jerk 192 kilos, squat over 660 pounds, stuff like that. So these kids look up to me, and I hold myself accountable and higher to those standards as well. All right. So them taking the next step, right? Demand the impossible to what you want. As a coach, right? Off-season program, having that organization is important. Right? Taking attendance, having some sort of leadership program developed in there. Like we use what's called Change Our Best program. All right? That's just keeping kids accountable, putting them in teams, having a fantasy draft, all that stuff. You've seen that a million times everywhere, right? We're just teaching leaders how to lead and kids how to be accountable, right? Are you allowing kids in the weight room if their grades are slacking? What's important to your program? And what do you want to develop as a strength and conditioning coach? Because it's physical, but I'm going to tell you right now, 90% of that's mental. You're developing their minds in that weight room. All right. Are you finishing every workout the way you want to? Have some sort of finisher, or the kid-led finisher, or something, right? And holding them accountable again. Are they touching the line when they're doing their sprints? Stuff like everybody's seen that picture in Shaw from being a champion, right? We talk about punishing a little bit. I don't really talk about punishing. It's just an opportunity to improve. So when I coach now, it's an OTP. So I'm gonna give them an opportunity to improve. I'm not gonna give them a punishment, but I'm gonna give them an opportunity to improve as a team. I don't want to pull out the individual because that's not what's on the field, right? Keep everybody accountable together. And then understanding as a strength coach, what your head coach's program goals are. You want to mimic that in the weight room as well. Bring that up all the time. Are you singing your fight song during like a plank hold, or are you quizzing those kids at hard times at the end as a group? Just things like that you got to think about as a strength coach, right? So in our program, right, where we want to start, we want to develop absolute strength, develop that foundation. We want to teach them to have a warm body but cold mind, right? Shut everything out, anywhere, anytime. That's our motto. Get these kids to move efficiently. Injury prevention is the game, all right? At the end of the season, when you're going into the playoffs, how many kids do you have injured compared to the next team? As a strength coach, your number should be lower than the other teams, right? That's who's going to win state championships and national championships. And then challenge with their work ethic, right? Give them challenges every single day. We talk about their school fight song during planks or something. Have the kids be energetic with breakdowns and give them crazy challenges every single day. So as we talk about resources for me, I've learned from a lot of people. It's not just me like sitting in a dark room thinking of crazy things. These are things I've either done, been through, or have learned either going to certifications, clinics, or just following people on social media these days, right? Joe DeFranco, Joe Ken, Travis Mack, Zach Evanes, Dustin Branshaw, good buddy of mine, John Garish, Jim Smith, Tom Soroka, another good buddy of mine. These are just guys in the strength and conditioning world that do a little bit more extraordinary stuff to me, okay? They're not the typical sit in the weight room and do this kind of guys, all right? They're innovative and they think beyond what a typical strength and conditioning coach should be. At any time, if you guys need any information, I just smashed in a bunch of info in a little time, okay? I probably missed stuff. If you have any questions or you want to like yell at me, that's my email. I'll be happy to help you out or talk through anything that you need. Again, I didn't make any of this. I just used it to fit our program and developed it based on the science that I've learned. So thank you for your time. We're going to be going over some technique stuff for the Olympic lifts because that's where my niche is, and I want to help football coaches specifically be able to teach that properly. All right, now we're gonna move on to Olympic lifting for football, okay? We're gonna talk about the two major lifts in Olympic lifting, right? Snatch and clean and jerk. Now, Olympic weightlifting is a sport itself. You're not gonna train like that athlete in that sport. So snatch and clean and jerk are specific to their sport, okay? There's no expectation for you to be an Olympic style athlete while training for football, okay? So the first exercise we're going to talk about is the snatch. Now the snatch is the most technical, besides the jerk, exercise in Olympic weightlifting. So again, as a coach, I have no expectation for him to do a full snatch and make it look like Pierce Demas, okay? So we're going to use variations of the snatch to develop either mobility, overhead strength, or general power, because there are portions of the snatch, which I showed you in our first presentation, that rate of force development is higher than every other lift for the most part, okay? And it just creates more upper back tension, which we will get to and talk about a little bit more. So the next part we're going to talk about is our variations in the snatch. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about the overhead squat. Now, as a strength coach, everybody should have a PVC so you can either whack them or put them in the right position, okay? And make sure this is barbell length. This one's a little short for now. When you are doing your overhead squat positioning, you want your athletes to know the overhead squat, right? If you have a 6'2" kid that's tall, lengthy, they're probably going to be collar to find their position. But this is a guideline for you to follow. So Mark here is going to help me follow this. So he's going to go at 90 degrees with his shoulders, okay? And then he's going to go straight down to 45 from there, okay? Wherever that lays on the bar, that's where he's going to pick it up. So if he right here can kind of picture it in his head where it's going to be, right? So Mark, go ahead and pick that bar up. There. Now from there, he's going to adjust it to how he feels, but that bar should be within that hip pocket area, okay? The next thing we're going to do is get that bar overhead. There's no specific way if it's with the bar. It's not weighted. You can use PVCs for this. Just the overhead squat, elbows high, and punch to the ceiling, right? So you're just going to bring it overhead. Now, when this bar is overhead, turn forward, this way, back. We want his hands to go behind his ears, okay? So that entire time his hands are behind his ears. We want his shoulder blades pinched together, okay? Here, he's going to retract his scap down and back, okay? To stabilize that bar. So the bar stays behind his ears the whole time. He's already shaking to do many overhead squats. Feet, shoulder width, or a little bit wider. Toes are going to be pointed slightly out. Okay, from there he's going to press through the ceiling. Hips back first. He's going to get glutes to boots. Get as low as he can right now. Come back up. Okay? Thank you. We are looking for below 90-degree angle with the overhead squat and be able to sit comfortably in that position. Okay, you can see he's not fully warmed up yet, so he's a little stiff, and we worked out this morning. But a lot of athletes can't get below 90 degrees with this because of shoulder mobility, hip mobility, and wrist mobility. All right, that's why the overhead squat is more used as a warm-up or a base strength developer, okay, to help mobility in that position. The next thing that we're going to move on to is the snatch pull, okay? I'm not going to get too deep into this technique because I want to cover the clean more, but the snatch pull is a jump per se and bringing the bar as high vertically as you can, okay? We're not going to go over the technique because it is more specific. We don't really traditionally use this, and I don't recommend this for high school athletes, really. This is more a collegiate and professional thing. Just because of the technique and the upper back strength that you need. Again, if you need help with that kind of stuff, ask away, right? So the next one we are going to talk about is muscle snatch. So muscle snatch is a shoulder strengthener and kind of gets you into that shoulder mobility position. So Mark here is going to grab the bar for overhead squat, okay? We are going to go from that hip pocket right here, right? He's going to have a slight knee bend. Okay, weights in the middle of his feet. Turn 45 for me, right? Perfect. Okay, from there, all he's going to do is extend his hips, drive his elbows behind his ears, and then as he does that, he's going to rotate and punch to the ceiling. Okay, try to keep that bar as close as possible. So muscle snatch through. So no rebend with the knees. We're just using the arms to get that bar overhead, okay? So we'll use this in a complex or some warm-up portion, or if we just want a good shoulder burn, this is a good exercise variation to use, okay? So just extend with the hips, use a little power with the hips, and then finish with the arms. That's it. There you go. We want to try and get an extension with the hips, right? One more time. Extend up. There you go. Good. Rest. Thank you. If we don't want that bar to swing, and this is a good way for us to teach kind of keeping that bar as close as possible. So again, we're not going to go over the snatch that much because it is a very technical exercise. We're going to spend more time on the clean, and that's what we're going to move on to next. All right, the next thing we're going to move on to is one of the biggest exercises in football training, right, is the clean. Now, one of my pet peeves, because I am an Olympic weightlifter, is coaches knowing the terminology, all right? Knowing the difference between a power clean, a clean from the knee, a clean from the hip, a clean from the ground, and just knowing the difference in that, because each position is important for us to teach when we're teaching the clean, right? So what you need to know when you're teaching the clean, you always want to be top down. So we're going to start in 3 positions called the pen lay 3. Pretty easy. I've found these ones to be the easiest way to teach. So we're going to start at the hip, the knee, and then the ground, okay? As a coach, I'm going to go over kind of a few buzzwords. Hopefully you pick up on them. This is the biggest thing when it comes to Olympic lifting. Coaches want to overcoach this move. All right? It's just like anything. And me being an offensive lineman in general, I like that kind of specific technique and getting more in depth. But most kids don't need that. They just need little cues to help them figure out where to stay tight and how to move properly. All right? So we're going to go through that as we go through each position. All right, so the clean positioning. So we're going to go over 3 positions. Call them the pen lay 3. So we start at the hip, start at the knee, start at the ground, okay? So if we talk about terminology, we're talking about power clean at hip, power clean at knee, power clean at ground, okay? It's not hang clean or anything like that. As I am at this position here, I'm starting to change that terminology as we go. Now, first thing first, back position is the most important part, okay? A lot of your athletes will feel this in their lower back. That's because they're not setting their upper back properly. So we want to talk about buzzwords. The first thing first here, okay? Keeping the upper back and shoulders retracted. So you're going to pinch your shoulder blades back here. If I had a ping pong ball, I should be able to place that in there, and you should be able to keep that ping pong ball in there. So again, buzzwords. So I tell the kids, ping pong ball, they know how to keep the shoulders back, okay? The next thing is flexing the lats. So right underneath your armpit, okay? He's gonna go back and down. I should go from fluff now to steel, okay? So I tell them to squeeze your armpits. That's how you're gonna keep the bar close to your body and keep your back safe, right? By using your upper back muscles. The next position we're going to go to is position 1 at the hip. So his shoulders are retracted. We're in a good position there, okay? Now, all he's going to do from this position is get into an athletic position. His feet should be even or right outside his shoulders, okay? Not too far out and not too narrow. So he's going to stay nice and tight. Retract the shoulders. Slight knee bend. He should feel the pressure in his quads right now. His shoulders, bend those knees a little bit more. There you go. Okay, feel the difference in your quads now? All right, so he's going to keep that bar right at or above his fupa, so in his hip pocket. He should feel this in his quads. His pressure is in the middle of his foot right now, okay? Not too shifted forward, not too shifted back. We want his shoulders, his hips back just a little bit, right there. Okay, his shoulders should be almost stacked on top of the bar or slightly behind if you want to get specific. Okay, right here is position 1. More knee bend, okay? He isn't doing much, but he feels that pressure in his quads. That's what's going to help us jump or explode or extend, okay? The next position we're going to go to is position 2. It's at the knee. This is where our RDL comes in, and hopefully you're teaching hip hinge movements. Okay, so all he's going to do is rotate at the hip, position 1. Position 2, okay? So now he's RDLing down. You should feel that tension in his hamstrings, keeping his back tight. Go ahead, position 2. Bang. Now he wants to keep that bar as close to his knees as he can. That's why you need the whacking stick as a coach, okay? Now, pinch your armpits. Fluff. No fluff. There you go. Arms straight. All right. Weight still in the middle. Now, biggest thing here is his shoulders are stacked over his toes. That's how you're going to create a proper bar path, okay? From here, he's in a good position. He should be pushing out against the stomach. okay? That's how you brace your spine. Don't take a big deep breath and try to squeeze your abs. This is how you brace your stomach, okay? Now, from here we're gonna go to position 3, which is at the ground. So right here, we don't need weights for this right now. All he's gonna do is break the knee, sit his butt down, and pull his chest up. So now from going shoulders even with the toes, his shoulders should be stacked on top of the bar right now, okay? So he's pretending he has weights in the quads right now. His back is retracted and tight, okay? Now from here, when we go up, we're gonna go to position 2. So you go push your knees back on the way up, position 2, and then position 1. Okay, make sure you rebend the knees, pull your shoulders back more, right there, good, okay? Rest. All right, so now we're gonna go through a sequence of movements. So when you have a new athlete, and you can do this as a group warm-up, get them going through each position, okay? So on a day you're gonna do cleans. Tight back, retract that back. Position 1, 2, knees back, right chest up, so feel those hamstrings pinch. There you go. 3, rebend the knees, pull your chest up, good. 2, push the knees back, shoulders stacked over the toes, tight. 1, rebend the knees, pull back. 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 1. Rest. Good. As you can see, just doing that position work gets them a little heavy breathing, sweaty, and warmed up. It also teaches the mechanics for them in their head, so then when we get to the full movement, things become a little easier, okay? So the next thing we're gonna talk about is the receiving position in the clean, because this is another big misconception with a lot of coaches that don't know how to teach it, right? When you receive a clean, you aren't receiving this in your hands. This isn't a hand catch. You receive it on your shelf. So when we talk to our athletes here about receiving the bar, their elbows, we're gonna have them push their elbows forward, right? Next thing we're gonna have them is shrug up. Here, when you catch that, okay, now you can tell your athletes, get in this position right here, you should have muscle for that bar to land on, okay? We call that our shelf. From there, you tell your athletes, drop that shrug right now, drop that shrug, be relaxed. There's bone, your collarbone. Tell them, do you want the bar to land on your bone or on your muscle, okay? So when they receive the bar, they're receiving it in a structured position, okay? Now we're gonna go through the receiving position at at the hip, okay? Nice and easy. When you catch a power clean, remember it's above 90 degrees. When you catch it clean, that's below 90 degrees, okay? Remember also, the lower you are, the less the bar has to travel, which means the more weight you can move, okay? The more rate of force development you can create. Doing that, though, means you need to have better technique to catch a full clean, okay? Some cues for you as a coach to help your kids. After you pull, okay, so you jump, extend. I don't teach a shrug or I don't teach anything. All I teach is a jump, elbows behind the belly button, and then elbows punch through, okay? Everything else seems to take care of itself. You don't want to like over feedback the kids with shrug, elbows up, elbows rotate, meet the bar. Everything I've heard is, beyond what kids can process in that millisecond that this is happening. So we just give these kids little cues to understand, and then we reinforce that a million times, okay? So Mark here is going to pick up that bar, go into position 1. He's going to focus on catching that bar with an open hand, shrugging up. We don't want a full grip on it. That's how we lose mobility, okay? So he's going to jump, extend, elbows behind the belly button, and receive that bar in his shelf, okay? Elbows as high as possible, shrugging up as high as possible. Tight stomach by pushing it out, okay? He's catching with semi-bent knees and hips back a little bit, okay? Obviously, the lower you catch it, the easier it's going to be. Rest for a second. Now, do it one more time. Now really focus on drive, extend, and then pull under quick, okay? Quick is what I talk about. Quick. All right, good, not bad. Now again, we need to catch that probably a little slight more knee bend here, okay? But the receiving position isn't bad. You're not really putting emphasis on the wrist. It's not killing your position. Okay, rest. Now we're gonna go from the knee just to give a little bit more of a look, okay? It's gotta really focus on that drive with the elbows. One more time at the knee, position 2. Go. Okay, so one thing we noticed there, rest, we put the bar down. As we get tired, what happens is they'll start bringing their elbows like this. So you need to, as a coach, reinforce extension, elbows quickly behind that belly button and through. Because this bar rotates. It's on ball bearings or needle bearings, whichever bar you have, it rotates, okay? That bar can spin in your hand, or you can keep your hand open to let it spin like that, okay? That's what helps that catching position. Okay, the next thing we're gonna do is catch it in a full clean. He's gonna go from the knee. Now, when you're transitioning to each exercise, it's gonna take practice, okay? But you have to practice it to get better at it. That's anything that you do. Really reinforce as a coach, drive the elbows, tight stomach, or push the stomach out, shrug up. Little things that you use as a coach to keep those cues, okay? The biggest thing you wanna understand is keeping that bar as close to the body as you can. And for me, teaching-wise, to do that, I tell the kids, elbows behind the belly button and pull yourself under, okay, by driving the elbows. All right, let's go from the knee, position 2 at the knee. So I'm gonna cue them through. We're gonna go position 1, 2, go. Good, now I'm gonna catch it in a full clean, because that's still above 90. So one more, we're gonna catch it in a full clean. Squat, glutes to boots. 1, 2, go. Good, okay, not bad. Good, rest. All right, good. Obviously, everybody's got to work on it. This is a thing you do in practice, okay? Now, if you want to do heavier weights, you have to learn to catch it in that full bottom position. So you got to teach them when the weight's lighter. Don't expect them to do it when it's at 80, 90, 100%. It's got to be done at 50, 60, 70% before you can move on to that heavier stuff. All right, so now that we're going over a little technique, and again, this is in-depth kind of technique. The clean is one of the easiest ones to do. We mainly do variations at or above the knee, okay? We hardly ever go to the ground just because our training cycle with me coaching them is so short that we just really focus on position 1 and position 2, okay? And we'll do variations in that. So when I talk about clean variations, I mean mess around with position 1, mess around with position 2, okay? You can go through the whole motion, going from 1 to 2 to 3, and then back to 2, and then go if you want. It's just creativity as a coach, right? When we talk about clean variations, we go from the blocks. That's one of the biggest teachers that we have, okay? In our weight room, we have big hammer strength racks. We actually go from the rack itself, because that's where weight can rest. Block cleans, the weight rests on the blocks, and you're starting from a static position. All right, for me, that is one of the best teaching tools because they can't shoot their butt, they can't use momentum, and things that kind of hinder that learning process, all right? From there, you can do complexes, power clean plus front squat, power clean plus front squat, power clean at the knee plus front squat, things like that. You want to create that time under tension. The reason Olympic lifts are so good, 1 is the power development, 2 is the time under tension, building the general strength on that, okay? That's one of the reasons why I love it the most. The next thing you can do is an isometric hold into a pull, okay? So that's just holding a position, because that's shown to have the most rate of force development, is holding that position and starting from a rebound like that. So we talk about programming for the clean. The biggest pet peeve I have is when I see coaches do cleans, power cleans for more than 3 reps, okay? This lift isn't a conditioning lift. You're not trying to punish your kids. We want to go back to our energy system talk. If a kid's doing a power clean for 5 reps, how long is that going to take? What percentage is he going to use for that weight? And what kind of benefits are you going to get for that? So, and that's another in-depth talk. It's talking about exercise selection for your rep scheme, right? The cleans, power clean, Olympic lifts are meant for 3 reps or less. Between 5 and 8 sets, between 1 and 3 reps. That's what you need. That's what's going to be your sweet spot for reps for Olympic lifts, okay? And that's I see these coaches all over the place do 5, 6 reps, go, oh, Olympic lifting stinks because nobody can do the technique right. I guarantee you can't hold weight for that long, hold your position correctly for 5 reps. This is the highly technical exercise. You'll never ask an offensive lineman to sit in his stance and drive block somebody 5 times in a row with no rest. Okay, you'll never do that. So why are you going to tell your kid to do that right now using a technical lift? All right. The next thing, really just understand, is this is power development. This isn't meant for anything else. Okay. We use this as our explosive body day, and then we'll also use this as one of our speed strength days. So we'll go at like 60% for 8 sets of 2 and work technique and speed on those days. We'll go heavy on one, super light and efficient on the other, okay? Every day is efficient for us, but really focusing on speed and movement efficiency. So again, any resources that I've used shared a little bit ago, my email is there. If you have any questions, contact me. I'm open. I'm open to learn too. Maybe I said something really dumb and you want to correct me on it or whatever. All I know is I've been through this for a while. I've learned from a lot of good people. I have a lot of good friends in the industry, and it's one of my passions. So I take pride in what I'm doing. And you know, any Olympic stuff, like I said, I got my level 2. So I'm also on the LWC board, which is local weightlifting committee board, as the athlete rep. So I'm in Illinois. I have a lot of ins. I've got a lot of friends that are in the industry that I can hook you up with or anything that you need. I thank you for your time, and go Cougs.